Okay, good afternoon everyone and welcome to the UP NISMED K-12 Science webinars. You are all attending the 12th webinar in the series and the 5th for grade 8. I am Celia Balbin and I belong to NISMED's Information Science group. Joining me as hosts today are Dulce Sebastian of the Biology Education group, also John Ray Rosso and Michael Mantala, all of NISMED and also Kasama teachers. When the school year opened in June, UP NISMED also began the webinars for grade 8 science. Unit 1 on force, motion, and energy took 2 webinars. We did this in June, one in June and one in July, and this was followed by a webinar for Unit 2 on Earth and Space, which we did on August 23. Resource persons in these webinars were the module writers, most of whom are really from NISMED. In September, we conducted our first sharing webinar for grade 8. We invited 2 community members, Mr. Vic Emerson Danao of Quirino General High School in Cabarogis, Quirino, and Ms. Marivic Rosales of San Jose del Monte National High School in Bulacan. Both teachers shared their experiences and learnings in implementing the Unit 1 modules. The implementations were a great source of learning because the classroom contexts were very different. Emmer was a physics major and concurrent head teacher. His class was a special science class of just 38 students, whereas Mavic is a biology major. She had 5 lower section classes with 60 to 80 students in a class. Today, we continue the presentation webinars and will zoom in on Unit 3 Matter, the chemistry strand for grade 8. And as customary, module writers from NISMED will lead today's webinar. And here is our agenda. We will have about an hour of the presentations, which will cover an overview of the entire unit and module presentations for each of the 3 modules. These presentations will be followed quickly by a Q&A session, which will take about 10 minutes. Then we have time for feedback and we wrap up at 5:30. Okay? So we will now proceed to the webinar proper. Kindly hold on as I load the presentations. The introduction. Our first speaker, Dr. Ferido, is a science education specialist and currently chair of the chemistry group at UP NISMED. She has also served as the Institute's Deputy Director for Research and Extension, and at another point was likewise Deputy Director for Administration. She has coordinated a number of NISMED's teacher training programs as well as research and curriculum-related projects. Dr. Ferido holds a bachelor's degree in chemistry from UP Diliman and an MS Agricultural Chemistry degree from UP Los Baños. She completed her PhD in science education with specialization in chemistry from UP Diliman. Before joining NISMED, she was a chemistry instructor at the Department of Chemistry in UP Los Baños and subsequently assistant professor at the Institute of Chemistry, again here in UP Diliman. Dr. Ferido's key role in the development of the K-12 science curriculum has spanned many years. In 2006, she served as coordinator of NISMED's technical working group, which was then tasked to develop the science curriculum framework for basic education. She is module writer in chemistry or matter. This is the chemistry strand for grades 7 and 8 science. Currently, Dr. Ferido is DepEd consultant for science in the K-12 program and reviewer for grade 9. In April this year, she received the 2013 Philippine Federation of Chemistry Societies Award for Chemistry Education. Today, Dr. Ferido will give the overview of Unit 3, the chemistry strand in grade 8 science, and walk us through Module 1, which she wrote. Dear teachers, let us all welcome Dr. Marlene Ferido. Dr. Ferido.
Hey, good afternoon. My mic was off. I'd like to give an overview of the third unit for grade 8, specifically on matter. For those who have taught grade 7, you will recall that grade 7 focus on investigating properties of solutions, homogeneous mixtures, and students learned how to express these concentrations of solutions qualitatively and quantitatively. They also distinguished mixtures from substances based on a set of properties. They became aware of matter in terms of the components that they are made of, substances, elements, and compounds. Also in grade 7, the students were introduced to a classification system, recognizing its importance, and they became familiar with elements, compounds, metals, nonmetals, acids, and bases. All of these topics were learned in a backdrop of guided and semi-guided investigations. This time, in grade 8, the students learn that matter is made up of particles. They begin to explain everyday situations at the atomic level. They explain properties they have observed in the earlier grades by the type of particles involved and the attraction between these particles. Unit 3 is composed of 3 modules. Module 1 is about the particle nature of matter. Module 2 is about the atomic structure. And Module 3 is on the periodic table of elements. A variety of visual, multimedia, physical, and conceptual models are used to develop the understanding of the students in order that they may visualize atoms, molecules, and elements. Many properties of matter, as well as its changes in state, can be explained in terms of the arrangement and motion of atoms and molecules. On the screen are shown the key questions for each module and the content that are covered. Most of the activities in this unit are by themselves formative assessment, as teachers collect the answers of students to questions. The results will indicate how far they have learned and what misconceptions they still hold. At certain portions of the module, the teacher can use the outputs of the students as part of the summative assessment for each of the modules. So we go from identifying what matter is made of, how does the model called the particle model of matter, explained properties and changes in matter. Then we go to the atomic structure, the components, the difference between an atom and an ion, and the last module is all about the periodic table. What information about elements can be obtained from such an organizing tool about the periodic table? Now this time, I'd like to go and zero in on the first module, which is the particle nature of matter.
Alright, so thank you, Dr. Mar, for that concise overview of Grade 8 Unit 3 module. So let me load now that next presentation on the first module. Okay, there it is.
Okay. So as I said, the first module is on the particle nature of matter. Just to go back or recall what students have learned about matter from grade 3 to grade 6. In grade 3, although of course this has not yet been implemented, but even in the old curriculum, students have learned these ideas at the elementary level. In the new curriculum, the K-12 curriculum, grade 3 focuses on grouping materials, solids, liquids, and gases. When they reach grade 4, they begin to learn different types of classification or grouping, but the focus now is on the ability of matter to absorb water. When they reach grade 5, they will start observing changes in matter under different conditions. And in grade 6, they will study more about ways of separating components of mixtures. I suggest that teachers take a look at the details of the science curriculum guide so that the details of this topic or the topics covered under this general ideas will be made clearer. From grades 3 to 7, students have already been exposed to the macroscopic, meaning the tangible and the visible, clearly observable and concrete situations and events, as well as hands-on experiences. Concepts were encountered by the students in the context and life situations that they were most familiar with. As I have said, the focus was more on the macro view, the tangible and visible, and such approach is how science concepts should be taught initially, as indicated by research. In high school, from grade 7 to grade 9, as I have stated earlier, the macroscopic view of matter is emphasized in grade 7. Then, in grade 8, we start with the atomic view in terms of the motion and arrangement of particles. Now, from what they see, they now go to some ideas which are not visible to the unaided eye. Then in grade 9, after they have been honed and after they have understood the nature of matter in terms of the particles that matter is made of, students begin to learn about the formation of compounds in terms of the arrangement of particles. So in the first module, there are only two key questions. What is matter made of? How does the particle model of matter explain some observed properties and changes in matter? We believe that students can take an active role in building their own knowledge, by modifying their existing conceptions of ideas through the process of conceptual change. They need to be guided so they can restructure their understanding of ideas which are not observable with the unaided eye. And research tells us that the first important step in doing so is to determine their prior ideas. Research also has shown that students must undergo a conceptual change for them to move to a submicroscopic view of matter. So the approach taken in the first module of Unit 3 is for students to observe more closely different everyday phenomena that will help them understand the particle model of matter. The activities in Module 1 will let the students think, draw, illustrate, represent, talk about, explain ordinary changes such as evaporation, boiling, condensation, melting, and freezing using the particle model of matter. This strategy will enable the teacher to take note of students' misconceptions and give them the opportunity to deal with them as teaching goes on. So as I have said, the ideas in grade 7 are focused on common properties of solutions and the awareness of the components that the matter is made of. Now, let's go to the first activity. It's entitled, Which is Matter and Which is Not? It seems like that the topic is very easy and can be drawn from a definition of matter. But what this activity focuses on is that this is for the teacher to determine the initial ideas of students and also to determine what they have understood so far from grade 3 to grade 7. As research tells us, there is no point in teaching the particle nature of matter when students do not know what is really meant by matter. Now, in activity 2, the focus is to infer from given situations of observable events what matter is made of. Also, the students will be able to understand or explain how these observed situations or events give evidence that matter is made up of tiny particles. As students move to grade 8, they are really dealing with what goes beyond what their eyes can see. So they will really have to know what matter is made of. And research also tells us that one of the most difficult concepts for students to understand is the particle nature of matter, because it is represented at a level which is not observable to them. At the elementary and at the junior high school levels, students do not have a particulate or a submicroscopic view of matter. They think of particles as smaller parts or pieces of a bigger object. Harrison and Trigas are researchers who have studied the understanding of the particle nature of matter for a long time. And they have recommended the use of scientific models. So in activity 2, models will be used and students will be drawing and illustrating based on concrete observations. They will draw what they think these particles are and how they move as they observe something that is concrete. Now, in activity 3, they learn to look for evidence if particles of matter are moving and what is between these particles. So they will infer if particles really move, and they will represent through a drawing or illustration what is between these particles. The particle model of the 3 states of matter, solid, liquid, and gas, really is a very important foundation for the physical sciences, biological sciences, and even earth science. From activity 2 to activity 3, the teacher is developing the understanding of the particle nature, and one of the difficulties here is that students cannot imagine what is between the particles. They cannot imagine that there is empty space, and they cannot also imagine that there are empty spaces even in between gases. That's why they have difficulty understanding compression and expansion of gases. And poor understanding of the 4 basic aspects of the particle nature of matter affects how students think about changes in matter that they observe. So you will see how important it is for our students to realize these postulates or understanding of the particle nature. From activities 1 to 3, students get a better picture of how the particles are arranged in the 3 states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. The particle model of matter assumes and even states that first, matter is made up of tiny particles. Secondly, particles of matter are moving all the time. Thirdly, these particles have spaces between them. Fourth, the particles of matter attract each other. These are very essential, fundamental statements proven by evidence and observed and inferred through concrete situations in nature. Yet these concepts and ideas are usually misunderstood. That's why in activities 4 to 6, the goal of the teacher is to let the students understand the importance of using the particle model of matter to predict and even to explain changes of state. So what changes take place when water is left in an open container, in a closed container? This is all about, this looks like simple, but they have to explain it at the submicroscopic level. So they will use the model, the 4 postulates or statements, to explain evaporation. Evaporation in 2 different situations, in an open container and in another container which is covered. Now, research results regarding evaporation indicate that many students, even up to 18 years of age, still find it difficult to explain what happens when a gas is heated or cooled. Why? Because students do not realize that particles are constantly moving. Now, if we go to the fifth activity, what changes takes place when water is heated or cooled? Now, this shows the extent to which students have grasped the different aspects of the particle model. Students should be able to explain the phenomena of boiling and condensation beyond what they could observe with their eyes. These phenomena have been observed by students at the elementary level. But the explanation for such phenomena will be dealt with in detail in grade 8 as students use the particle model of matter to explain such. Now, the study by Vanessa Kind in 2004 revealed that many students, yes, as I've said, find it difficult to explain what happens when a gas is needed. Novick and Nussbaum also found out that 40% of 16-year-olds thought that particles are forced apart when a gas is heated. It is more difficult for these 16-year-olds to understand that the motion of particles decreases when cooled, and it's more difficult for them. In the last activity, activity 6, what changes takes place when ice turns into liquid water? So this is a very common change of state observed in daily life. And this can also be explained by the particle model of matter. So after performing activities 4 to 6, students should be able to understand that solids, liquids, and gases differ in behavior because of the arrangement and motion of the particles in each state, as well as the attraction between them. The same particles of matter are involved when these changes take place. These phase changes or these state changes. No new substances are formed. And this idea is usually what is misunderstood by many students. Now, a very good analogy to be used by teacher is the analogy with pointillist painting. On the left side of the slide is a figure which is a continuous image of a pointillist painting. The right side, figure 1b, is a blown-up image of a portion of figure 1a. Dots are more conspicuous than in figure 1a. Now, what's the analogy? Matter which appears to be continuous, like the image in figure 1, is made up of very small particles that cannot be seen with the unaided eye. This is a very effective analogy for students to understand so that they will be able to appreciate the particle nature of matter. So at this stage, after they have finished the 6 activities, the teacher should have bridged the students closer to the more scientific model of matter. Researchers like Liu and Lesniak said that developing understanding of matter needs to help students attend to all aspects of the matter concept and develop meaningful relations among the different aspects of matter. So it is important that these activities are done by the students to help them develop an understanding, a better understanding of the postulates of the particle nature of matter. So this concludes some pointers, and I suggest that teachers thoroughly reflect and study on the teacher's guide for grade 8. These are all explained and illustrated in detail. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ferido. I agree that teachers, I think, need to look very closely at the explanations, the illustrations that are shown in the teacher's guide. This is a very difficult topic to teach, and not just to learn by students, but also to teach by teachers, considering that many of our grade 8 science teachers may not be confident to teach concepts like this in chemistry. So once again, let's all thank Dr. Ferido for doing the overview with us, as well as this module, the first module on the particle nature of matter. Thank you, Dr. Ferido. May I remind all our participants to write down or type in all the questions that come to mind using the chat interface, and we will later on ask our resource persons to answer them when Q&A time comes. Maraming salamat po. And may we also remind you to please fill up the attendance sheet. I will right now paste it here in the chat pad so that the latecomers can also include their names in our attendance sheet later on. So at this point, let me close this presentation and prepare you for our next one. Meanwhile, let me just take this opportunity in behalf of NISMED's director and staff to thank all the participants, presenters, speakers, and sponsors for making the National Conference in Science and Mathematics Education this year another successful learning experience. We also specially thank the students of Commonwealth Elementary School and Santa Lucia High School for participating in the 2 lesson study open class sessions that we also did in the conference. And while that conference is over, there's another one we're preparing for next year, which will coincide with NISMED's golden anniversary or 50th year anniversary, the International Conference in Science and Mathematics Education, which again will take place at during the last week of October in 2014. And details about the conference as well as inquiries you can submit in using our emails and also the conference website that will soon be made available to all of you. Okay, so once again, thank you to all who have participated in the national conference, and please start thinking and saving for the international conference next year. Let me now introduce you our next presenter. Our next resource person is Miss Jacqueline Rose Gutierrez. Jackie, as we fondly call her, is also a science education specialist here at NISMED. Prior to joining our institute, she was University Research Associate at the UP College of Home Economics. She was also a special science teacher at the Philippine Science High School main campus in Diliman and assistant teacher at the Ateneo de Manila University's High School Department, where she also served as a summer enrichment program facilitator. Jackie finished a bachelor's degree in food technology at UP Los Baños and completed a Master of Education major in chemistry at Hiroshima University. She is currently pursuing PhD in Education program at the UP Open University. This afternoon, Jackie will discuss Modules 2 and 3. Module 2 being about atoms and Module 3 about the periodic table of elements. Friends, there is no better person to provide us this orientation because Jackie herself wrote both modules. So teachers, friends, let us all welcome Miss Jacqueline Rose Gutierrez. Jackie.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Nadia, for the introduction. So, I'm here to talk about the module and the third module of the Unit 3 matter. So, just to guide us for the session, allow me to have a rundown of objectives. First is, okay, what happened? Okay, close. First is, I wish to describe the relationship among the concepts in Module 2 and their connection with the other grade levels and modules, and next to articulate the key questions and science ideas and their relation with activities. So first off, and of course, very important, to gain feedback from you. So first off, we want to describe the relationship among the concepts, and we'll be doing this through a diagram. So beginning with grade 7, what was dealt during that grade level is that we began with matter, diversity of material, so there's just so much, almost everything around us is matter, so there must be a way to classify them. So in grade 7, they have learned that matter may either be mixtures or substances, and that substances may either be compounds or elements, and that compounds and elements are related in such a manner that compounds are made up of elements, and that elements are arranged in the periodic table. Okay. Okay. So, then going back to substances and mixtures, these two can actually be differentiated or distinguished by their macroscopic properties. So all of these things, they were all dealt in grade 7. Now, coming from the macroscopic properties, as actually mentioned by Dr. Farida earlier, we come into grade 8 module 1, wherein these macroscopic properties are now explained by their submicroscopic composition. So, notice that we used submicroscopic at this point in time because during this grade level, the students are just more familiar with the microscope rather than the atomic level or particulate nature. So, dito pa lang, or here, in here, they might already have this idea that we're really talking of little particles. So, microscopic. So, in the submicroscopic composition, they have the basic unit, which is the atom, which is already mentioned in grade 8 module 1. So, they have already learned that in module 1. And that these atoms, when they combine, they form molecules. So, going back to atom, this will be now the focus of grade 8 module 2. Okay, so here, so we enter the module that I'm about to tell you, is that here they will learn that atom is almost empty space, but is composed of 3 basic parts, which are the neutrons, the electrons, the protons, and the protons. Okay. Okay. So these 3 basic parts are basically what we will be focusing on this module. And that being an atom, with its neutrality, protons, they have equal number with electrons. However, the atom, it may lose or gain electrons, and when it happens, it forms actually the ions. Okay. Okay. Now, neutrons, on the other hand, together with the protons, the sum indicates a certain concept called the mass number. And this mass number indicates or identifies the isotopes of the elements. Okay. There's a little bit delay on the clicking, but I hope you can follow. So going back to the neutrons, it binds together with the protons in the massive part of the atom called the nucleus. So I just want to emphasize the word massive here. I use massive here for the reason that the mass of the atom is actually basically is composed, or rather concentrated on the protons in nucleus. The idea of being massive, I really want to emphasize at this point, it will help them. The idea of being massive, the nucleus being massive, it has to be some kind of like, it has to stick to the minds of the children, because it will be a key idea that will help them associate the energy associated in the nuclear reactions. Bakit nga ba napakalakas, napakataas ng energy when you have a nuclear reaction? Bakit ba super, di ba nung nagkaroon ng Fukushima nuclear reaction, and nagkaroon, parang ang taas-taas ng radiation and all, because the mass of the atom is concentrated on this massive part of the atom. And that the protons have positive charges, the neutrons have no charge, and electrons, they have negative charges. And that the electrons, they orbit around the nucleus. Okay, going back to the protons, they indicate another concept called the atomic number, which at this point in time identifies the elements and also the basis of the arrangement of the periodic table, which is again discussed in grade 8, module 3. So basically, this is how the concepts are all related from grade 7 down to grade 8, module 3. Okay, so going now to, okay, let me blur that and give a little advertisement. This concept map that you have just seen, it's uploaded in one of the UPNISMED websites called Agimat. This website is basically constitutes some curriculum materials that were done by NISMED. So hopefully you can also visit it. The link is down now, flashed on your screen. And do visit us also on Facebook, please, and give us a like. Okay, just type in there Agimat. So again, going back, so we started with something that is macroscopic, like a piece of block here, sorry, and then we try to magnify it, and then we see there that it's made up of atoms, as you have seen, the sub-microscopic composition. And now we try to magnify it more, like the pointillist that Dr. Ferrido was talking about earlier. Try to magnify it more. And then you'll see that these atoms are still made up of components, which is actually the nucleus and the electrons. And if you try to magnify again that nucleus, you will see that it is still made up of components called the electrons, the protons and the neutrons. So in this module, we will be talking on the subatomic level now. So grade 8 module 2, that's why it was entitled Atoms Inside Out. So we'll try to look inside what the atom is composed of. Okay, and as we said, we will try to do this. Our second objective for the session is for me to articulate to you the key questions in science ideas and their relation with the activities. So we have 4 key questions here. So what makes up an atom? How do these components differ from each other? How are these components arranged inside the atom? How are atoms different from ions? So this is basically where the module is limited in discussing. If they can answer these key questions, I think those are enough. Please take note that we are really in progression. We are trying to limit the scope of each grade level. So if the students will be able to answer all these 4 key questions at the end of the module, that is actually okay. It's no. How are we going to answer this? We have 4 activities lined up. And just to give you a rundown of the titles of each. Activity 1 is charge it experience, 2 is the big difference, 3 is small but terrible, and then activity 4, it's what's in a number. So beginning with activity 1, these are the science ideas that we wish to emanate at the end of the activity. Hopefully this will crystallize at the end. So that first one is atom. It's regarded as the smallest basic unit of matter. And even if it is the basic unit of matter, it is still composed of parts. So, meron pa pala siyang parte. And these parts are actually the electrons, the protons, and the neutrons. And to preserve the neutrality of an atom, the number of protons must always be equal to the number of electrons. Okay, so that is the first activity. The second activity, the science ideas that are supposed to come out here, will be made known by a lot of visuals, a lot of graph making. But before I proceed, I hope if you have your modules with you, there's some typographical error there. You might want to check. Make sure that the proton here, the number on the top of the bar should be 16720. So you may want to change that. So anyway, so in this graph, they will see like a big difference on the mass. So the y-axis shows us the mass in grams of a proton, a neutron, and an electron. They will see that there is really a big difference in terms of the mass between the or among the protons, neutrons, and electrons. So it's the protons and the neutrons which really contributes to the mass of the entire atom. But take note that the electron, it has its mass. It possesses mass. It's actually 9.109 times 10 to the negative 28 grams. It has mass, but it's very, very, very small compared to the protons and neutrons, that it's almost negligible. So the science ideas that will crystallize at the end is that where protons and neutrons are relatively heavier than electrons, and they compose the nucleus and collectively called as nucleons. And the mass of an atom is mainly determined by the mass of the nucleus. Also, we wish to hone or enhance the skill in construction and interpretation of graphs in this activity. Next off is activity 3, small but terrible. It has 3 parts. First part is that it wishes to give the idea that models are products of inferences. If you have your modules there of your learners materials, you will notice that they will just make a mystery box and they will to make a model out of this mystery item inside the box. So they will, at the end of the activity, they will produce different kinds of models. And these models were actually based on the observations they have made. And given all this variation, they will see that, okay, my interpretation of an evidence, of my observation might differ from the interpretation of my classmate. And consequently, we can have different models because it will be because it's basically a different interpretation will give me a different inference. So this is actually the point at which this part of the activity will happen. So now, in relation to the models of the atoms, you will see that whatever models our scientists have proposed, these are also products of inferences. But take note that these inferences were based on something. It's based on a certain observation. And what is the implication of this idea of that the models are just products of inferences? There goes to part B. So they will notice that for a certain model, for example, in this case, the plum pudding model of Thomson, Thomson has proposed, whatever that you are seeing in the screen, that the electrons are actually dispersed throughout the atom. But since in his setup, he wasn't able to identify or at least find an evidence that there is a positive matter. It was just an inference because it's a neutral thing. So if there is negative, there is positive. But they don't know where the positively charged matter is. So what he did, okay, maybe it's just dispersed. So that was his model. Now, here comes another group of scientists, Rutherford, making use of alpha particles, which are heavy, positive, and they travel in high speed. They come into they did their own setup, but they had to base their the hypothesis first with the existing model, like the ones that was given by Thomson. So given that kind of model, Rutherford thought of like, if that is the case, then if I use alpha particles and try to beam it on a certain thin matter like a gold foil, it will pass through. There will be no deflections. But lo and behold, when they did it through, using their setup, there were so many there was a different observation than what they were expecting. Few particles deflect almost back towards the source. Though that is another light, it is another new evidence. It's a new light that would actually create, oh, there must be something wrong with the plum pudding model. So given all this, given all the observations of Rutherford, the positively charged matter that was actually initially proposed to be just dispersed throughout the atom cannot be that way. Because of that evidence, they came up with the idea that it must be concentrated into a certain area of the atom. And in fact, they proposed the nuclear model, wherein the protons, at the time, the neutrons have not been discovered yet. The positively charged particles only are the ones that are compact or lumped together in one area, and perhaps somewhere in the middle, and then the electrons are just dispersed throughout the atom. So again, coming from part A, that models are products of inferences, because it's just a product of inference, in part B, they will also realize that models may actually change over time. So it can actually, and in the light of new evidence, it may still change up until this moment with the many researchers and trying to find more information about the atom that we haven't seen yet. Nobody has seen it yet. So the possibility that the models of the model of an atom may actually change. But thus far, this is what we accept. So, let me just. So in part C, okay, sorry. Where was that? In part C, okay, this, E. Okay. In part C, using the nuclear model of Rutherford, so they will just try to make this little activity that will give us another idea of the model of the atom. Like, if you have the alpha particles, and then you have your circles here as like the nuclear model, so each circle represents an atom, and then the little dot there represents the nucleus that Rutherford has proposed. So, given the idea that the alpha particles are deflected by the nucleus only, so they will try to draw lines and try to draw the path at which these alpha particles will follow if these alpha particles will be beamed through those atoms. So what will happen now is that they will find that most alpha particles will pass through because most lines have passed through. But there are few that deflects, those that are near the nucleus. So you will see the arrows actually bouncing back not passing by those that are near the little dots there, which is the nucleus. Now, given this diagram, they will most likely infer that the atom is mostly empty space, because the fact that there is no deflection, so no blockage, so perhaps this is just empty space. And that because there are more alpha particles passing through than the deflection, then again they can infer that the size of the nucleus is very, very small relative to the size of the atom. So together, parts A, B, and C, they will infer that the model that is currently accepted describes that the atom contains a very small nucleus. In fact, it's 10,000 to 100,000 times smaller than the entire atom, which is composed of the protons and the neutrons, and that the atom is mostly empty space. And it is inferred that this empty space is where the electrons orbit around the nucleus. And then, okay, again, all in all, several models have tried to show how the subatomic particles are arranged in an atom. Thus far, again, the accepted model places the protons and neutrons in the center of the atom, or the so-called nucleus. Moving rapidly, and may I add randomly, around the nucleus are the electrons. So that is now the accepted model. At this point in time, we will not be talking about the electronic structure. That will be dealt in grade 9. So they go to activity 4. Several concepts will come in, but these concepts are introduced little by little throughout the activity. And some of these concepts are the atomic number of protons, which is same for all atoms of a particular element, and then the mass number, which is the number of protons and the number of neutrons, which is different for atoms of the isotopes of an element. And they will also be practicing some shorthand notations, like this one, wherein the letter there is actually the symbol. So C stands for carbon. They are all familiar with this already because back grade 7, they have already been introduced to periodic table. And then 12 and 13, these are actually the mass number. So since one of the questions in the activity will give them the idea that mass number is the number of protons and the number of neutrons, so they will already have the idea that 12 is actually the sum of the protons and the neutrons. And then another shorthand notation, wherein you have there at the left hand, the superscript, you have the mass number, and then left hand subscript is the atomic number. And then the letter, again, is symbol, the symbol of the element. And then right hand superscript is the charge. So if you don't see any charge there, that is actually 0. That means it is a neutral atom. Okay, so then electrons are either lost or gained when ions are formed. So maybe we'll not do this anymore. You can actually, the answers here are shown in the teacher's guide. So this is a check whether they understand the atomic number, mass number, the isotopes, the shorthand notations, and whether if it's ion, there is an imbalance of charges, and if it's an atom, you expect that there is an equal number of protons and electrons. Okay, so that's what so that is what grade 8 module 2 is all about. So again, so you have your 40 questions there, and now as you can see flashed in your screen, all the science ideas corresponds to whatever key question you have, and the activity they should crystallize in. Okay, so that's grade 8 module 2. So going to grade 8 module 3, we only have, so I'm entering to grade 8 module 3 now, the periodic table of elements. So we only have 2 key questions. How did the periodic table develop, and what information about elements can be obtained from this organizing tool? So you will only have two activities. One is the tracking the path and constructing the periodic table. Second is metal, how reactive are you? So since we just want to know the development of the periodic table, and we just do not want them to just to like lecture it, so we give them an activity, we give them some element cards here, and then in each element card you will notice that it has its atomic mass, some description about the element, and the compounds that it forms, okay? So based on this, they will try to group these elements and maybe come up with a certain kind of arrangement. And perhaps they might reach this kind of arrangement. So let them discuss, let them give the reasons why they arrange it that way, and try to facilitate. So facilitate until they reach an arrangement similar to the periodic table. So then the second activity now actually fuses their ideas learned in grade 7 about metals and about acids. So they try to react it, and they will see that there is a certain pattern related to the position in the periodic table. So if you can notice that potassium, sodium, lithium, they all belong to group 1, and you will see that as you go from bottom, potassium is actually under sodium, and sodium is under lithium. So as you go from bottom to top of the periodic table, of the group in the periodic table, you will see that the chemical reactivity decreases. And similar with calcium and magnesium. However, for transition metals, there is an irregular pattern. So that is what is inside grade 8, module 3. Okay, so that ends my presentation. Thank you. Look at the teacher's guide. There are some software I suggested that you may use in your doing activities. So one of the applications is actually a software made by University of Colorado. So remember the plum pudding I was talking about earlier. So this is perhaps how Thomson wanted to represent his inferences. So the blue dots, assuming that these are the electrons, they are just dispersed throughout the atom. If you have some alpha particles beaming in, that what Rutherford has actually thought of, he would expect that it will just all pass through. So you can use this video to show that, okay, perhaps this is how it's going to behave, the alpha particles going to behave when you beam alpha particles in a certain thin foil of matter, like gold. However, you can pause it, and then at the side tab, you will see what the Rutherford atom is. This is how they actually have, what they have observed. They have actually observed with their setup. Like, look, like showing the traces, showing the path at which the alpha particles went or followed, you will see that there are certain alpha particles that actually deflected or bounced back. So different from what they have expected given the model of Thomson. So perhaps you can play on this and use this as you discuss activity 2. So, okay. All these links, they are all written, or you can refer to the teacher's guide for the actual links.
okay. If the teachers listening and those who will follow the recording look at the curriculum guide, there's there are very few performance standards for this module. One of which is making charts or posters or even multimedia presentations of common elements. Oh, I'm sorry, that's in grade 7. Sorry. Erase. Like a performance or an assessment would be to apply the particle nature of matter in the water cycle. So they can present through a poster or through multimedia or any other representations how the different states of water look like within the water cycle. So that is one application which also straddles between chemistry and what is usually put in the earth science domain. This is really something that is theoretical. What we did was to allow teachers to let the students interpret what they observe. Interpret or visualize what they observe at the concrete level. Like for example, in Module 1, they observe food coloring being dropped into a volume or certain volume of water. So they will interpret or draw the particles which they cannot see. They will just have to visualize such that the teachers can assess their understanding of the postulates of the particle model of matter. It is very important that teachers do this because these concepts are the foundation for the succeeding grade levels. And in the previous curriculum, definitions were just given without allowing the students to interpret what they observe.
Okay, so it really looks like students are best provided the opportunity to express their understandings of the abstractions or the representations involved in the particle nature of matter. So maybe asking them to draw the different phase changes or representations of the phase changes can also really help. I also have a question for Jackie. I've had this fascination in the past about periodic tables. And I see, once I had access to the internet, I see a lot of periodic table formats and versions. Aside from just the flat one, there are those that are spiral in shape, and there are also those that contain pictures of the elements. Is there any particular set of periodic tables that you can recommend that our teachers use as reference, or that they can also suggest to their students to use?
Okay.
We can hear you now.
Again. It really... Again! So please visit our UP National Publication Store. We have our own periodic table. We have actually published. So you can hear me again? Okay, so that, I think for the purposes of the need in the learner's materials, the ones we have published is quite enough, good enough. So please, but if you want it really to be visual and pictorial, there you can use the internet. You can use just ask for, of course, for some permission. So that's it. So
Okay.
you may.
Thanks for the suggestion. Okay. So I hope you can already hear me. I can see that my mic icon is already moving. So I hope I'm coming through to you.
Yes, yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
So again, maraming salamat kay Dr. Ferido at saka kay Jackie, for really taking this time. They've been terribly busy with the national conference, but not only that, but also with writing and reviewing the modules for grade 9 science. So we are greatly indebted to them for taking this time away from their very important work to join us in the webinar this afternoon. So let's put our hands together. There's this guy there with the raised hand. We can click on the down arrowhead beside it and then choose the applause icon for our resource persons today. Once again, thank you, Dr. Ferido and Jackie. So for our participants who had been interested to look at copies of these presentations, let me show you the links to our feedback form as well as to the resources earlier shared by Jackie. You're supposed to see now the closing slide for this webinar. I think it's still loading. We have here on this page the link to the survey feedback form, really very important for us. So may we request Ma'am Figuracion, Ma'am Cherilyn, and also Ma'am Manrique to please click on the link with the survey monkey on it for your feedback. But before you do that, let me take this chance to show you what Jackie earlier showed us the concept map for grade 8 science, especially on the matter strand. So you just click on the grade 8 concept map here, you get the link, and you go directly to that particular page in the AGIMAT website. And then of course you have the NISMED website here as well, and our announcement for the international conference next year. And thank you for visiting Kasama. Both Ma'am Figuracion and Cherilyn are Kasama members. We'd like to welcome you again to the webinar. If you want, we will be able to put up a copy of this recording which you can show to other science teachers in your school. You can also refer to the grade 7 recordings, especially the overview for the matter strand, also which was provided in the July webinar for grade 7 last year. Because in grade 7, the matter strand is the first unit covered. Okay, so let me invite you all again to our next webinar, which will be in November. We are making arrangements for some of our trainers to present their training experiences as well as the challenges that they have encountered when conducting regional and division level training activities. Once again, may I invite our participants to please click on the survey form. Once again, thank you to all participants, presenters, speakers, and sponsors of the 2030 National Conference in Science and Mathematics Education. And please save up for next year's international conference. You might want to note down our conference website and get information as well as updates there. And if you need any particular invitations or if you have queries about the conference, please feel free to email us in the email address flashed on the screen. And in order to get your copy of the PowerPoint presentations as well as the video, the brief animation that was shown by Jackie earlier about the models. Here is the link to that webinar, to that resource. There's a discussion thread on Grade 8 Science webinar resources and discussions in Kasama Teachers. You can click that link and find out a copy, download a copy next week. We will also make sure that you get the recording as early as you can so that you can share that with your co-teachers.